Top American diplomat Antony Blinken has arrived in China with Washington-Beijing ties at a critical point over numerous global disputes. He will be holding talks with senior Chinese officials in Shanghai and Beijing on his three-day visit. Now, this is Blinken's first visit to China since the month of June, when America was trying to restore high-level engagements after the spy balloon incidents and increased tensions around Taiwan were souring relations. During his latest visit to China, Blinken is expected to raise a number of concerns related to the South China Sea, the Russia-Ukraine war, and the crisis in West Asia. The top American diplomat's visit comes as Xi Jinping and Joe Biden recently held talks on pressing issues, most notably regarding the ongoing confrontations in the South China Sea and peace and stability across the Taiwanese Strait. Moreover, just 2 days before U.S. Secretary of State departed for China, Beijing showed off its nuclear might. China displayed its second strike capability, that is to hit back after an enemy launches an initial nuclear attack. The Chinese Navy released rare footage of the launch of a JL-2 ballistic missile from a nuclear submarine. The video features China's Shandong aircraft carrier fleet, including 4 submarines during a simulated exercise. Now, to take this further, we are being joined by Collins Chong Yu Keat from Kuala Lumpur. He is a China affairs expert and foreign affairs analyst. Mr. Keat, thank you so much for joining us here on WION. My first question to you is, Blinken's first stop will be in Shanghai to attend a basketball game. Would you have imagined this about a year back?
Well, of course, it's meant to show, efforts by Washington to have this closer rapport with Beijing. Now that we have seen ever since the San Francisco meeting last year, not much has been gained, not much has been achieved, and tensions are still running high. A lot of global regional tensions in West Asia, in Ukraine, in Taiwan Strait, in South China Sea. And of course, Washington is trying to send a message to Beijing that while it is still firm in its global dominance, in its capacity to have this readiness to support allies in the region, also is trying to have these overtures in terms of giving Beijing the message of friendship. But at the same time, of course, it's trying to send a very strong message that it still has the hard power capacity to maintain a simultaneous two-front global conflict at the same time, whether it's West Asia, whether it's Ukraine, or whether it's in Taiwan or South China Sea. And it is, Blinken has to send a very firm message to Beijing, to Xi Jinping, to Wang Yi, of course, to show that Washington has the power, the might of its allies, at the same time, also the capacity to further extend the effectiveness of its current alliances, whether it's with Philippines or Japan or Australia, or to expand NATO or to expand Quad, for example, in the region. So that's, of course, one of the main purposes of Blinken for this visit.
Right. Mr. Keat, do you think a visit like this can transform issues around Taiwan from strategic ambiguity to strategic clarity?
I don't see any, pressing momentum now for that to change. Of course, we have seen repeated, assurances given by Biden for the past couple of years. And we have also seen now that Washington will have this inauguration next month. And of course, tensions might be running high at that time. And, from what we have seen with these recent happenings in West Asia and the success of this Western bastion of alliance in thwarting Iran's strike on Israel, and this shows a very strong message to China that it doesn't have the capacity to do the same thing on Taiwan, knowing that, for Taiwan, it's a different ballgame altogether. Now that we have, the Japanese and Filipinos firmly in place, we have also growing capacity in that region to deter any potential aggression by Beijing. And of course, this is another attempt by Washington to have, this greater leverage in terms of soft power capacity, as well as giving a higher upper hand for Washington to ensure that, the ball is now in Beijing's court to respond accordingly. Now that he has pressed Beijing on certain issues, of course, for Beijing to do more to press Iran to de-escalate and to, of course, also to deter China from, further, aligning themselves with the Russians in the Ukraine war. And this is, I think, a great step by Biden to have this strategic leverage.
You make a fair point. There seems to be conscious effort to coexist, at least on the surface. Now, as you mentioned also, the meeting comes amid multiple geopolitical and proxy wars. Now, interestingly, while US's role as a peacemaker has come under question, China is being lauded for filling the shoes. How do you assess this meeting through that lens of changing diplomacy?
Of course, for the past couple of months and for the past year, China has been upping the efforts, upping the ante in terms of, redesigning itself as the global power in terms of solving these Middle Eastern, West Asian disputes and dilemma. Bringing together the Iranians and Saudi Arabians last year, and trying to play a bigger role now in the Gaza crisis. Also, of course, in Ukraine, and of course, also now we have seen how Washington has reaffirmed its ironclad commitment to its presence in the Middle East, in West Asia, and to send a very firm message to Beijing that although it has been distracted by the war in Ukraine, by Iran, Israel, and Gaza, the Indo-Pacific strategy, Indo-Pacific focus is firm, is unwavering, and that it has still the capacity to fight multiple fronts of conflicts, whether it's in Taiwan, whether it's South China Sea, or whether it's in the Ukraine. And yes, for what we have seen the passage of the bill for the funding for Ukraine, for Taiwan, and for Israel, and that sends a very strong message to Beijing and also to Russia as a whole, that it still has the both the economic and also the hard power capacity to do that, to have a very strong deterrent effect on Beijing.
Right. All right, Mr. Key, thank you so much for getting us all those updates and insights.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Ahead of Antony Blinken's dialogue, Beijing conveyed 5 major goals that it expects to tackle with the American envoy. These include seeking a consensus over Taiwan, over American support for Ukraine and Israel, the semiconductors ban, and the TikTok bill, coupled with the plethora of issues driving a knife's edge between both the powers. Now, according to Chinese Foreign Ministry, Blinken's trip will address clarity on mutual perception between both powers, bolster channels of dialogue, create mechanisms to manage differences cordially, promote cooperation that both nations can benefit from, and jointly shoulder responsibilities as the two apex global powers. Let's further explore what these expectations actually mean. First and foremost, in lieu of Blinken's outreach, the CCP has expressed the need to bring diplomatic engagement back to non-confrontational levels. However, there is a disconnect between Washington's refusal to recognize Taiwan's independence, while the White House doubles down on its commitment to protect the island in case of a Chinese invasion. The CCP seems to be seeking clarity and a diplomatic bridge on the issue, while the United States seeks guarantees that an invasion will not take place to begin with. China recently hosted its meeting of top foreign naval officers to bolster maritime diplomacy. Simultaneously, the US and Philippines held the Balikatan exercises, while Blinken may seek to address China's aggressive posturing in the South China Sea. China may seek assurances on American naval presence in the region it perceives as a threat. Furthermore, Beijing has expressed concerns over the US's recent $95 billion aid endowment to Ukraine. Israel and its interests in the Indo-Pacific are also part of the list. Given that China is Moscow's foremost ally, Beijing may seek assurances over the extent of Washington's support for Kiev. In West Asia, the United States' backing for Israel's relentless Gaza offensive will be a major point of conversation. One of the largest points of discontentment between both the powers has been the US's clampdown on semiconductor technology that it believes China may be using to further its militarization. Another issue which will be brought up in the recent passage of a bill citing data privacy concerns by US lawmakers, it forces China's ByteDance to either sell TikTok or pull the social media out from the country altogether. China and the US may seek to dampen their larger rivalry in the global sphere, such as the jibes the two permanent UNSC members have been exchanging, where both sides have accused each other of using their position to undercut crucial rulings on issues. For all the latest news, download the WION app and subscribe to our YouTube channel.